The wail of sirens tore through the calm afternoon like a knife through butter. I stood on my porch, hands slightly raised, as two officers approached, their hands hovering near their holsters. From the street, a woman with a severe bob and a gleaming HOA badge jabbed a finger at me, as if I were a criminal. "That's him," she shrieked, her voice sharp enough to peel paint. "He's trespassing on association property." I told him to leave, but he refused. I drew a slow breath, keeping my tone calm and steady. "Officers, I'm standing on my own property. I have the deed right here in my back pocket. If you'll allow me to retrieve it." The lead officer nodded cautiously. I pulled out the weather document and, despite the tension, couldn't help but smile. What she didn't know was that in exactly 6 minutes, her entire HOA would receive a court-ordered shutdown notice. But that was getting ahead of the story. My name is David Hartley. After 12 years overseas as a real estate attorney specializing in property law, I had finally returned to my grandfather's Lakeside cabin on Pine Ridge Lake. The cabin held memories of summers spent fishing and telling campfire stories, though nature had reclaimed much of it in my absence. Vines climbed the cedar siding, and the dock had long since seen better days. I arrived that morning eager to assess the damage and start restoration. The cabin sat on 5 acres of pristine lakefront property, held by my family since 1947. What I didn't expect was that, while I was away, a homeowners association had somehow sprung up around the lake like an invasive weed. Trouble found me within an hour of my arrival. I was clearing debris from the front steps when a golf cart rattled up the gravel driveway. At the wheel was a woman whose scowl looked permanently set, her HOA president badge gleaming like a sheriff's star. "Excuse me," she said, her voice dripping with authority. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" "Cleaning my property," I replied, straightening and brushing my hands on my jeans. "Can I help you?" Her eyes narrowed to thin slits. "Your property? This entire lakefront is under Pine Ridge HOA jurisdiction. No one told me about any new owners, and I certainly didn't approve any work permits." I chuckled. "Work permits? For cleaning my steps?" "Don't get smart with me," she snapped, clutching her clipboard like a weapon. "I'm Patricia Petton, president of the Pine Ridge Homeowners Association. Nothing happens around here without my knowledge and approval." I stayed calm, my tone pleasant. "Well, Patricia, I'm David Hartley. My family has owned this cabin since before you were probably born. I don't need anyone's permission to maintain my own property." Her face flushed an alarming shade of purple. "That's impossible. The HOA owns all lakefront access rights. We've been maintaining these properties for years." I glanced around at my overgrown yard and crumbling dock. Interesting definition of maintenance. Patricia thrust her clipboard at me. "You're in violation of at least 17 HOA bylaws, unauthorized presence, unapproved modifications, failure to register with the Architectural Committee." I raised a hand. "Patricia, I think there's been a misunderstanding. My property predates your HOA by decades. I have the original deed and trust documents. Whatever jurisdiction you think you have ends at my property line." She laughed, though it sounded more like a bark. "Oh, you're one of those sovereign citizen types? Let me educate you, Mr. Hartley. The Pine Ridge HOA was established in 2013 with full authority over all lakefront properties. Your deed means nothing." I pulled out my phone, showing her a photo of the original 1947 deed. "Unless your HOA has a time machine, I think my claim supersedes yours." Patricia's face twisted with rage. That's fraud. You're presenting false documents. You're nothing but a squatter trying to steal association property." The confrontation escalated quickly. Patricia stormed back to her golf cart, making frantic calls. Curious neighbors peeked from behind curtains and blinds. I returned to cleaning my steps, knowing this was far from over. 20 minutes later, Patricia returned with reinforcements. 3 other HOA board members flanked her like a suburban strike team, all wearing matching blazers and HOA pins. "Mr. Hartley," Patricia announced with dramatic flair, "the board has convened an emergency session. You have 5 minutes to vacate this property before we call the authorities." I leaned casually against the porch railing. "Patricia, I showed you my deed. This is my property. If you'd like to verify it, the county records office is open until 5. I don't need to verify anything, she screeched, composure cracking. I know every inch of this HOA. You're trespassing and dangerous. Who knows what you're planning in that cabin? One board member, a nervous man with thinning hair, tugged at her sleeve. Maybe we should check the records first? She whipped on him with fury. Harold, whose side are you on? This man is clearly unstable. Look at him, just standing there with that smirk. He could be planning anything, Patricia warned. I wasn't smirking. Well, not entirely. But I did find the situation quietly amusing. Here I was, a middle-aged attorney in khakis and a polo shirt, being cast as a threat to suburban society. Patricia, I said with measured patience, I'm going to head inside my cabin and make some coffee. You're welcome to call anyone you like, but I won't be leaving my own property. That was the last straw. As I turned toward the cabin, I heard her scream into her phone. 911. Yes, this is an emergency. There's a dangerous man breaking into a house on Pine Ridge Lake. He refuses to leave and is making threats. I paused at my door, shaking my head. Threats? The only thing I had threatened was her fragile ego. Still, I knew officers would respond immediately to a call like that. I gathered my deed and other documents, preparing for their arrival. Within 10 minutes, the sirens came. 2 patrol cars screeched to a stop, and officers approached cautiously. Patricia practically danced with glee, pointing me out. Officers, thank goodness you're here, she cried, full of theatrical distress. This man broke into this cabin. He's hostile, he's threatening, and I fear for my safety and the safety of our community. The lead officer, a professional-looking woman named Officer Chun, approached carefully. Sir, I need you to step away from the door and keep your hands where I can see them. I complied immediately, moving slowly and deliberately. Officer, I understand your response, but I want you to know I'm the legal owner of this property. I have documentation right here. He's lying. Patricia shrieked. He showed me some fake deed. He's a con artist. Officer Chen raised a hand. Ma'am, please step back and let us handle this. Turning to me, she asked, Sir, can you provide identification? I handed over my driver's license and the deed. Officer Chen examined both carefully, while her partner maintained a watchful eye. After a few tense moments, she spoke into her radio, likely running a records check. Mr. Hartley, she said finally, this deed appears legitimate, and you have no warrants or legal issues. Can you explain what's happening here? I calmly gave her a brief rundown of the situation. Patricia grew increasingly agitated. This is ridiculous, she sputtered. I've been president of this HOA for 8 years. I know every property owner. He's not one of them. Officer Chen remained patient. Ma'am, do you have documentation showing that the HOA owns this property? Patricia fumbled with her clipboard. Well, not on me, but it's in our files. Every lakefront property belongs to the association. That may be, Officer Chen said diplomatically, but this deed predates your HOA by decades. Unless you can show legal documentation transferring ownership, Mr. Hartley appears to be within his rights. Patricia's face cycled through shades of red and purple. This is preposterous. I want him arrested for trespassing. Ma'am, Officer Chen's partner said firmly, filing a false police report is a crime. This man has proven ownership. If anyone is trespassing, it could be you. That was my cue. While Patricia fumed, I pulled out my phone and made a call I'd been planning since she first rolled up in her golf cart. Tom, it's David Hartley. Yes, I'm at the cabin now. There's a situation with an HOA claiming jurisdiction over my property. Remember the trust clause we discussed? Time to activate it. Patricia froze mid-rant. What are you doing? Who are you calling? I held up a finger. Yes. File the emergency injunction immediately. And Tom, include the fraud investigation request. Thanks. I ended the call and smiled. Officer Chen looked curious. Patricia looked murderous. The other board members shifted uncomfortably. Officers, I said pleasantly, I apologize for wasting your time today. I can assure you there won't be any more false emergency calls about my property. Officer Chin nodded. We'll file a report about the false 911 call. Ma'am, she said to Patricia, I strongly advise you to avoid harassing Mr. Hartley further. As the officer prepared to leave, Patricia's phone buzzed. Then another board member's phone rang. And another. Within seconds, all 4 HOA representatives were staring at their screens in horror. What is this? Harold whispered, his face pale. Patricia's hands shook as she read. Cease and desist. Emergency injunction. Dissolution of charter. This can't be real, she shrieked. I glanced at my watch. 6 minutes. Tom's getting faster. What did you do? Patricia yelled. I leaned against my porch post, finally allowing that smirk she had accused me of earlier. Patricia, what you and your HOA didn't realize is that I'm not just any property owner. I'm a real estate attorney specializing in property law and trust management. My grandfather didn't just own this cabin. He was part of the original Pine Ridgeland Trust, established in 1947. Her face went pale as I continued. That trust includes specific clauses regarding commercial development and association formation. Any HOA claiming jurisdiction over trust properties without proper approval is automatically null and void. More interestingly, there's the fraud clause. Fraud. Harold squeaked. Oh, yes, I said cheerfully. I spent my morning at the county records office. Imagine my surprise when I discovered your HOA has been collecting dues and fines for properties it has no legal authority over. Trust properties account for roughly 60% of your claimed jurisdiction. Patricia's phone rang. She answered with a trembling hand. Hello. What? No, that's impossible. We can't be shut down. I'm the president. What do you mean the city is investigating? Audit criminal charges. Her face went from purple rage to ashen shock as she listened. The other board members instinctively backed away from her, as if she were radioactive. It seems, I said to the stunned group, that claiming authority over properties you don't own, collecting dues under false pretenses, and filing fraudulent documents with the city constitutes fraud. Who would have thought? Within the hour, the neighborhood transformed. Word spread faster than wildfire. Homeowners poured out of their houses, many clutching emergency notices delivered straight to their phones. The dissolution was immediate and absolute. The Pine Ridge HOA, fraudulent for 8 years, was dead. Neighbors I had never met began removing HOA signs from their yards. One elderly man did a little celebratory dance as he tore down a list of approved paint colors from his garage. A young couple high-fived after realizing they could finally install the playground set Patricia had denied 3 times. As for Patricia herself, she stood in my driveway, utterly stunned, her phone ringing incessantly. Board members resigned via text. The HOA's attorney called to withdraw representation. The city inspector arrived to seize all HOA documents for the fraud investigation. $73,000, she whispered, staring at her phone. They say I owe $73,000 in illegally collected dues. Harold, finally finding his courage, stepped forward. Patricia, at the last board meeting, didn't you transfer $40,000 from the HOA account to renovate your pool? She spun on him, but her fight was gone. That was for HOA gatherings, she insisted. We never had gatherings, another board member pointed out. You said the pool was the unofficial HOA headquarters, but it was your personal property. The city inspector, observing everything, made a note, embezzlement charges, too. Ma'am, he said firmly, you'll need to come with me to answer some questions. As Patricia was led away, her pristine HOA present facade crumbling with every step, she turned back one last time. You destroyed everything, she wailed at me. I shook my head. No, Patricia, you built your little kingdom on a foundation of lies. I just pointed it out. Over the following days, the final tally became clear. Patricia faced criminal fraud charges, embezzlement, and filing false reports. The illegal dues alone totaled over $200,000 across 8 years. Her personal liability, combined with legal fees, threatened bankruptcy. The $40,000 pool renovation cemented her embezzlement charges. She was swiftly expelled from every local organization and lost her job at a real estate firm. When it emerged, she'd been using her position to research properties for HOA expansion. Criminal charges carried up to 5 years in prison. At her arraignment, when the judge read the charges, Patricia fainted dead away. Paramedics revived her with smelling salts, her perfect bob finally disheveled, her reputation in ruins.